it seems to me that our understanding of what is natural versus normal, our understanding of what is the default versus what is learned and practiced, is absolutely fundamental to how we coach. So if I think people are fundamentally fucked up, which I used to because I thought I was fundamentally fucked up, then coaching was about unfucking yourself, right? It was about learning skills to cope with being fucked. It was, recovery strategies. It was rebuilding. It was breaking down and redesigning, programming, reprogramming, deprogramming. Now, if I go in with the assumption that it's a blank slate, just a completely blank slate, born as a blank slate, and all there is what gets written on the slate, well, then my coaching is going to be trying to write better things on the slate, trying to erase some of the crap from the slate and write good stuff on the slate. But it seems to me that the default is wisdom. That's one part, right? It's that capacity to see fresh, for something to come to mind that's perfect for what's needed. It's this intelligence that runs through us. It's the piccolo that's always playing underneath the bass drum and marching band of our personal thinking. That's natural. That's built into the system. In animals, we call it instinct. In humans, when it's not bound up in morality, we tend to call it conscience. But conscience does get bound up in morality. So it's wisdom. Common sense is part of the default. Like, given the world as we think it is, we make very common sense decisions. If I think I'm under attack, I defend or attack back. If I think this is what's going to help me, I'll go for this. If I think that's what's going to help me, I'll go for that. There's a remarkable amount of common sense built into the system. Obviousness within the thinking I have that looks real to me. Resilience is built into the system. We just seem to be able to get beyond things, to get back to fresh, to get back to presence, to be as good as new, regardless of what has come before. Well-being. The simple feeling of being. Uncontaminated by personal thinking. It's why when we're quiet, we don't feel empty. We fill up. Because that's built in. That's natural. And I kind of talk about this, I include it, honestly, in wisdom normally in my own head, but creativity. That capacity for something brand new to come, to create from nothing. That spark. That like, ooh, I wonder. Now, if these are built in, and I'm asserting that they are, I'm asserting that in fact that's what the principles are, is pointing to our innate health, our innate wisdom, our innate well-being, our innate creativity, our innate resilience, our innate common sense. Then the only question is, what's getting in the way of it? Like, why aren't you awesomer? Right? That question wasn't plucked out of nothing. That's where it comes from. It's like, given that you are the wisdom of the entire universe, the wisdom of the ages, that you're made of resilience and well-being and creativity, why the fuck are you struggling to pay your rent? Why are you getting so caught up in traffic that you arrive at work ready to kill? Like, why does a bad day devastate you instead of just being a bad day? Well, it's gonna be some misunderstanding of the mind, to quote our friend Jason. It's going to be something that isn't innate that I'm seeing as innate. Oh, well, I'm just not good at this. I'm just inherently bad at fill in blank here. It's going to be some thought appearing real. It's going to be a world you have created in your mind that you think is the real world that you have to deal with and navigate. It's going to be some reason that you lack one of these qualities that I am laying out as innate, that you don't have wisdom, that you don't have common sense, you don't have resilience, you don't have well-being, you don't have creativity. Some of you will remember me telling this story about a client I had. And he loved the idea of innate well-being. He didn't have it, but he loved that other people did. It made him feel very hopeful. And what's funny is when you really think something is a way, you don't even, like, he totally accepted that he didn't have well-being. Like, I had totally accepted for myself, I just was a depressive. It wasn't a problem, just the way it was. And then one day he started to experience his own well-being. And his life began to change. If we know this is the default, then all we ever need to do is just nudge somebody back into it. Just unstick the stick that's got stuck when it was floating down the river. I used to say all the time, a stick that's floating down the river doesn't need years of therapy when it gets stuck. It doesn't need to understand why it got stuck. It doesn't need to know its roots and the tree that it came from and why trees like that leave sticks like it. It just needs a nudge back into the flow of the river. And when people get stuck, they don't need years of therapy. They don't need to understand the roots of their problems. They don't need to understand their family tree and how that created them, their life circumstances and why they're stuck. They need a nudge back into the flow of their own wisdom, their own well-being, their own creativity, their own resilience. So to my mind, the principles, not as a conversation, but as a reality, are always enough because they take care of everything else. If it's common sense. If I'm missing a piece of information, I'll go find the information. If I'm missing a skill, I'll practice the skill and develop it. If my thinking is getting in my way, but I see it as thinking, it's already out of my way. If my levels of health and energy are problematic, then I'll find a way of working within them. And I'll find a way, if there is a way, of getting beyond them. If other people are the problem, I'll see that other people can never be a problem. They're just being other people. They're just being them. They're just doing them. But I can make anything problematic. If I'm missing motivation or inspiration, well, 9 times out of 10, it's because I don't really want to do it, but I think I should. And 1 time in 10, there's just some thought that looks really real, that makes it look hopeless. And so even though I do really want it, I don't let myself, because I think it's going to hurt to let myself want something that I know I can't have. If it's a time issue, there's a really good bet that I think time is real and fixed, and that it's the ultimate arbiter of success is time frame. And that there's a right time for how long things should take. If it's a money thing, chances are incredibly good I'm giving money power way beyond the power that it has, or I'm not giving it enough credit for what it allows us to do. So I'm either spending too little time looking at it, so I don't learn anything because I don't look, or I'm spending too much time trying to sort it out because I think it's everything, instead of a helpful thing at times for certain things. It gives me more flexibility in how I go about doing what I do and creating what I create. If it's fear that seems to be the problem, well, fear is never a problem. Misunderstanding fear, misinterpreting fear, really problematic. Thinking fear is a signal mustn't go there. Thinking fear is a signal must go there. Thinking fear comes from something, and so if I don't want to be afraid, I need to avoid that thing. All of those can get in my way. But understanding fear, where it comes from, what it is, what Bill Pettit called a love letter from God, reminding you, pointing your way back home. It's like a big wrong way sign in the road. It's like, if we see a wrong way sign on the road, chances are we don't stop the car, get out, paint it over, and carry on. But that's what we do with fear. Oh, I don't like this. Okay. Ah! So will there still be things your client will need to learn? Yeah. Why wouldn't there be? But that's okay. That's how things work in creation. We learn as we go. But what a lot of us do is we spend all our time thinking we already know what the problem is, what we need, and trying to solve it before we even get in the game. And that's not how games work. You cannot win Monopoly before the first roll of the dice. You cannot win a tennis match before the first service. You cannot build a business by thinking about a business. You cannot develop a great marketing skill before you have something worth marketing. That's all.